And Mayor Colin Read is here with us. Welcome. It's good to see you again.
Nice to be back.
You mentioned at the chamber breakfast, the city is still in pretty tough financial shape.
It is, and it will be for a little while. I mean, we've got a declining population base since the pullout of the base back in the late 1990s, and we can really clearly track as our population goes, so does our property tax base go. And as our property tax declines, the only way to make everything equal each other again is by having our property tax rate increase. So, and as you know, we had to lay off 2% of our workforce. Fortunately, we found jobs for many of them who wanted to transition to other things, but it's difficult. It's difficult for all rural cities right now. The country's experiencing a wave of increased urbanization. And our job is to figure out a way as a small rural city to figure out a way to get them back and to especially keep our retirees here. I'd like to see taxes stay affordable, consistent with their increases in Social Security payments that they receive.
You're worried the aging population will move out of the city if the taxes get too high?
Well, it will for sure anyway, just because we're in a northern climate. So our job is to keep them here. So it's particularly important to make sure the tax rate stays low.
And millennials aren't coming in to take their place.
Primarily the population loss is in the retiree ends for our northern communities, but in that big chunk from 20 to 30-year-olds are the ones that are migrating towards the large metropolitan areas and leaving the rural cities. And so we have to figure out a way to kind of get that dip back.
You mentioned the cuts the city's had to make. 5 departments altogether eliminated over the past 2 years, and layoffs. Are you stabilizing now, or is it likely there will have to be more cuts and more layoffs?
I don't think there'll need to be more cuts. Of course, every time we rehire a position through attrition, retirement, et cetera, we look at it very carefully and figure out if that's exactly how we want that department configured. Are there ways that department can share with other departments? So that's a constant exercise trying to find greater efficiencies, but we don't think that layoffs will be necessary. No, I think we did a lot of hard work in doing the consolidations, and now we can look for other efficiency gains, and we're finding them. The council did a good job in helping me reduce expenditure still further this year without really any loss in services. Matter of fact, people are seeing us repairing roads at 10 times the rate we were doing just a few years ago.
Are you counting on the new multi-million-dollar development downtown to potentially keep seniors here, seniors who decide to move into the downtown, or new seniors who come and like the idea of being close to everything, close to the shopping and restaurants and being in the heart of the downtown?
I think that's actually the beauty of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. I think that's something the governor really gets, is that we have to reinvent how we view our downtowns. You look at Glens Falls, and they've got a couple of major developments that have gone downtown, primarily for active living seniors. And they also have a mix of, in those same buildings, millennials. Both populations really don't want to have to bother with cars, et cetera. They want a little bit of things to do in the evenings. So this whole urbanization of small cities that we believe have a lot of things that could be attractive, I think we're reaching that point where we can start doing this in Plattsburgh, and we're seeing that elsewhere. The other nice thing about active living seniors in our downtown is that they don't just become attracted to City of Plattsburgh from Peru or Beekmantown, et cetera, but their hinterland, they're drawn for about a 100-mile radius. They happily locate from Malone into the City of Plattsburgh, et cetera, if we have the housing for them, high quality housing, and if we have the urban amenities. So that pool of people developers find very attractive, and that's why we believe this contractor, who's done this many times elsewhere in the state, is willing to come and invest so much here.
They held a public meeting a couple of weeks ago. Do they have a timetable for when they hope to break ground, and when you hope to see this project open?
Some of that depends on the state. As you know, this is a heavily state-driven process. It's their $10 million they're investing in us. So there's a lot of contracting and arrangements we now have to make with the state. I think optimistically we may be able to break ground in 2019, but certainly I think we'll start seeing a lot of activity down there by 2020 if everything goes well. They believe they could complete this from beginning to end in about 20 months if everything goes very well.
And what do you see this project doing for the downtown?
I think it's completely going to revitalize the downtown. It's going to hopefully have about 125 new households living downtown. But it's really attractive because it's year-round. It's new households that are really investing in downtown. As you know, our city, because of this large student population, is somewhat transient. A lot of people coming in and out. So this is really giving us a very firm base. It's 125 new households, maybe 250, 300 new individuals that can shop at the co-op or go to a restaurant, one of the fine dining opportunities downtown. And so I think it's going to be a real shot in the arm for the businesses that locate downtown because they appreciate the slow shopping and the urban experience.
There has been some opposition to this. A lot of it has been people unhappy over the loss of the Durkee Street parking lot, those 300 parking spots, wondering where are they going to go. You've had a committee working on that. You've been looking for parking elsewhere. Have you been able to find enough parking outside of the Durkee Street lot that you don't think that will become a crisis?
We have. As you know, the committee that's working on this has identified one large new lot on Margaret Street, but is also looking to expand the amount of parking on Court Street and even on Durkee and Bridge Street itself. They've identified how to get another 50 or 100 new spots in there by widening the streets. It might mean moving to diagonal parking, things we're still trying to design out with the parking experts. But more than enough parking has been identified elsewhere in the city and really at better locations. Now, that Durkee Street parking is prime for a business that's right on Durkee or Bridge Street, obviously, which is why we need to provide more parking along Bridge and Durkee Street itself. But really a lot of the businesses are up towards Margaret Street or Court Street, et cetera. So to create more parking near where the businesses are, I think we'll end up providing more and better parking than currently exists.
And the city's moving ahead with plans to buy the Glens Falls Bank branch there, demolish the building, and create a parking lot there.
Correct. If we can work together on that property, we believe we can create between 168 and 200 spots right in that location alone, which goes a long way to replacing the 289 from Durkee Street. The developer as well is willing to put some public parking in Durkee Street. That was a really nice thing to hear at the last public forum. So between what the developer's willing to do, what we can do in Durkee and Bridge Street itself with some redesign, with Margaret Street and another location at Margaret and Court Street, I think we're going to get there.
The county at the Chamber Breakfast said it's willing to come on board and help with some of the maintenance costs for the footbridge that goes, the Webb Island footbridge it's known as. People familiar with it. It runs from Plattsburgh High School to the south end of the city, and kids have used it to get from the south end to the high school for a number of years. A city engineer deemed it unsafe, and it's been closed for more than a year now. And during that time, there's been a question about who takes responsibility of the bridge, who pays for it, who pays for the upgrade, who pays for the maintenance. And there's been quite a bit of back and forth on that. Has it gotten to a point with the county and other partners stepping forward that there may now be a collaboration and a way to move forward to get the bridge reopened?
I think so, and it wasn't the city engineer that actually condemned the bridge.
School departments?
The school district maintains their own bridge engineers who did an analysis and determined that the bridge really needs to be closed as their bridge, and they retain the engineers. We help them with those analyses anytime we can. We also have bridge engineers that look at our road bridges, et cetera. So we collaborate in trying to keep that bridge healthy. It was ultimately their decision. We share the desire to have that bridge opened. We're looking for solutions. We felt we had an agreement last summer, and we're hoping to still come up with some sort of agreement where the school district, the city, and if the county could join us, could partner on making sure that attraction remains there for the students that need to get across it, but also people who want to access the Saranac River Trail, which, as you know, we'd like to have run all the way from our waterfront right through Saranac and right through Clinton County. So I think there's lots of partners here that can help us find a solution.
You had said, though, that the city can't bear this cost alone.
City can bear very little costs alone given our financial situation. The last thing we really need to do is take on long-term financial obligations when our property tax base is not keeping up with inflation, but all of our costs are rising far faster than inflation for a lot of structural reasons.
Mayor Colin Read, thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us. We appreciate it.
You bet, as always. Thank you.